So now we come to qualifying heat for groups C and D in X30 Junior, and it's an all-British front row. In fact, it's an all-British two front rows, with the Scotsman Lewis Gilbert on the inside line, running under the KR Sport colours. And then for Dan Holland racing alongside him is Alex Lloyd. Two very talented British stars, the Scotsman and the Englishman. All you need is an Irishman on the second row of the grid, and you've got the best pub joke in kart racing. But it is no joke for these guys at the front of the field. Lewis Gilbert and Alex Lloyd are going to be battling for position. The officials are just going to have one final word with them going into the race itself. And that gives me a bit of an opportunity to tell you a little bit about the guys at the front end of the field. But the man from Dalry in Scotland will start from the inside line at pole position, Lewis Gilbert. What can I tell you about this guy? He's been an absolutely superb stalwart of motor racing in the last 5 years of karting. Vice champion at the IAME X30 World Finals last year. Minimax Super 1 British champion in 2017 as well. And he has been an absolute stalwart. His racing hero is Colin McRae, and he handles his kart with such incredible discipline and meticulous precision. It's no wonder, because he's got that same feisty temperament of Colin McRae, and I think he'd be very proud watching someone who idolised him in such a manner doing so well at such an early age. And then we've got the man alongside him on the front row of the grid who challenged Murray Boyer so beautifully at Valencia, almost got the better of him in the pre-final as well. Alex Lloyd for Dan Holland Racing, and he's still on the comeback charge after a fairly nasty accident about 18 months ago, and still doing an absolutely fantastic job of marching forward. And I think actually in his recovery and his development now as a racing driver, he's even stronger now than he was back then before the accident. So it's an incredibly superior Alex Lloyd in terms of stance, in terms of confidence, in terms of his own belief in himself. He has this overwhelming sense of belief in what he can do, and it's great to see his very confident stance coming into the first round of the European Championship. And I know Mother Rebecca is back home in the UK watching intently to see how he gets on. But he's in very safe hands, of course, with the Dan Holland Racing team. He's been looking very confident all weekend. Spoke to him very briefly at the end of yesterday. He had a little bit of an issue in his final qualifying session. He didn't quite get the flying lap he wanted. He said he could have been even quicker, and I believe him. On the second row of the grid, we've also got Luke Preston and Josh Rowledge there, another two Brits who've got a lot to shoot for in this session. We've got 2 minutes before they get sent out onto the grid, which just about gives me enough time to talk you through the rest of the drivers. Victor Pardo on the third row of the grid, the Spaniard, alongside the talented new Canadian in the field. This is only his third weekend racing in Europe, Jason Leung, who has suddenly come on as a bit of a whirling dervish here. Jason Leung has definitely got some potential here, the Canadian, who races on the east coast of North America most of the time. Then we've got the Flying Scotsman. He's back in action once again. The privateer, Cian Shields. They decided, well, he did so well at Valencia. Let's see what he can do in the full series. And he's right up the front end. Also, so too is the talented young Brit Zach Ripley alongside him on the starting grid. The 12-year-old from Maidstone in Kent. And he was in the top 10 in Valencia a few weeks ago as well. So he has definitely earned his place in the European Championship. Cesar Gazzo and William Nicolo make it an all-French row 5, with Moa Obelts of Spain and Ronan Patrick Hakala of Estonia in 11th and 12th. And then we have the very talented Moroccan racing driver, Suleiman Zanfari, who is using this as a testbed for his other international program. But the Lotus Racing name is here this weekend. And the very talented Moroccan Suleiman Zanfari is right there at the front. We're speaking to him yesterday. He's a very cool customer at 12 years old from the west part of the country in El Jadida. He's done an awful lot in his short career. He was 4th at the Euro Minimax finale in 2016, 9th in last year's CIK FIA. I was asking him, what do you think the weekend's going to do for you? He said, I'm just going to put my foot down and go like hell. You got to like guys like that. There's a great little character, Suleiman Zanfari. Alongside him on the grid is Oliver Goethe, who is racing under the Danish flag this weekend, Oliver Goethe. Then we have Liam McNeely and Vyacheslav Volosyankin of Russia. Then we have Lois Delbar of Belgium and the Swiss driver Aaron Reshepi. The Swede Robin Norman hasn't quite got up to speed yet, but he's there on the 10th row along with the German Linus Janssen, Belgium's Alessandro Tudiska and the German Christian Wilken. And then we have Zach Meekin. Then we have Eric Alanis Bosch, and then we have Herodind Nerudini. So there is your drivers. There is your field being made up of the drivers as they go around the circuit on their rolling lap. So the drivers getting themselves up to speed as they just get themselves neatly into position. They're going to need to get some heat into the tyres and brakes on this lap, as they know, of course. So the drivers will get themselves up to speed fairly quickly as the drivers warm up. Lewis Gilbert and Alex Lloyd on that front row of the grid, and the second row of the grid with two more Brits on it, Luke Preston and Josh Rowledge, Victor Pardo and Jason Leung, Cian Shields and Zach Ripley, and then in the top 10, Cesar Gazzo and William Nicolo. We also have the Spaniard Mo Abelts and Ronan Patrick Hakala, the Estonian, in there from Zuliman Sanfari, Oliver Goethe, Liam McNeely, Vyacheslav Volosyankin, Lois Delbar, Aaron Reshepi, Robin Norman, Linus Janssen, Alessandro Todiska, Christian Wilken, Zach Meekin, Erik Alanis Bosch, and Herodin Narodini, the German. So with the drivers filing up around the circuit, it's going to be an interesting one for this second half of the 50 drivers racing today. Should be 51, of course, but with the injury to Daniel Gregor, he will hopefully be back tomorrow, depending on how he rests it today. But an incredible start in the X30 Juniors. I wonder if these guys can upstage the previous heat, because that would already be quite an achievement as the drivers battle away for position. Just had the confirmation of the results from that race. No dockings, no penalties at all, which is all very good news. So that's all been confirmed, as far as we can tell anyway. So hopefully that won't be amended. But the drivers once again forming up. They form up a little earlier in the X30 Juniors than they do in the X30 Seniors, although they were waiting a rather long time in the previous heat. So we'll get our smoke screen once again as they run out of turn 13. And they run down towards 14, that long flowing left-hander up towards the double apex at the end of the lap, 15 and 16. You can get a good run as you charge out of 15 and then just tighten up the line quite succinctly for 16 and get on the power midway through the corner. It chucks you just over the white line, but that's a pretty impressive end to the lap. And a lot of drivers have been kicking out the back end of the tyres as they get back on the power. So let's see how they go. Gilbert and Lloyd, Preston and Rowledge, Pardo and Leung from Shields, Ripley, Gazzo and Nicolo, and we're racing. Cracking start on the inside line. No surprises there. Preston's going to push through to second position. There's not a lot that Alex Lloyd can do about it. He is going to try and hold it round the outside, though, to slot into fifth position. He has done so. So Lloyd is only down to P5. Cian Shields making the move there on Cesar Gazzo to move up into sixth position. Good start from him. But at the front, no major surprises. It is Lewis Gilbert who leads the way. Down the back straight, and we got a challenge already for second position. Moving up to the inside line. That looks like a good battle there already, starting to kick us up. So there are a good few couple of overtaking moves in the first couple of sectors of the lap. Several drivers trying to make their way further forward. That looks like Luke Preston has already had a challenge from Josh Rowledge in the first couple of corners. They're still battling away as they come through 13. And up towards 14, the long-flowing left-hander. But out in front, it is Lewis Gilbert, the Scotsman, trying to keep possession of the lead. 34 is there in second place. Now that is Victor Pardo, in fact. So Victor Pardo running in second position in front of the 38 of Cian Shields. So those drivers have actually forced their way further forward. Cracking start. And now Cian Shields moves up into second place at turn 1. And that's left the door open for Luke Preston. Preston's now at the inside of Pardo. Still lots of great moves. Cesar Gazzo's in there past Josh Rowledge. Oh, what a squabble in these first couple of laps. But Cian Shields, the Flying Scotsman, has come up into second place. What a cracking start. And he's left the rest of the field for dead as Victor Pardo is now battling to keep Cesar Gazzo at bay. Oh, great battles. And now Gazzo seems to have made his way through, I do believe. So good overtaking moves. Oh, a little bit of an up and over there. Very close indeed as they very nearly came off the circuit. And now that is a collision. Cesar Gazzo. Is that Alex Lloyd? I think that's Alex Lloyd. He's come together there. The 54 has dropped all the way back down the order. That is a disaster. Cesar Gazzo and Alex Lloyd have come together on the exit of turn 7. What a disaster for both of them. But Gazzo, unfortunately, in a battle with another driver, just ended up sliding across in front of Alex Lloyd, and that is definitely a compromised start to Alex Lloyd's weekend and Cesar Gazzo's as well. So Lewis Gilbert now in front of Cian Shields and Luke Preston. Josh Rowledge is in fourth place. Then it's Victor Pardo, Zach Ripley up to 6th place from William Nicolou and Suleiman Zanfari. I told you to watch out for him. Zanfari's now battling away there with Moa Belts, who I think has managed to get through. So, some great battles all the way through this field, but problems early on for Cesar Gazzo and Alex Lloyd. They are now down in 20th and 22nd, respectfully. So that is not where they wanted to be. Robin Norman's coming up through the field. He's made up 4 places. Tudiska's made up a few. So too has Eric Alanis Bosch. So a few drivers working their way forward, but Cian Shields is the main man on the move, up 5 places from 7th on the grid. He's now chasing down Lewis Gilbert. Luke Preston in 3rd, Rowledge in 4th, from Victor Pardo, Zach Ripley, William Nicolou, Suleiman Zanfari, Morta Belts and Liam McNeely. Jason Young, the Canadian, is there in 11th place. Then Vyacheslav Volosyankin is in 12th at the moment, the Russian. Lewis Gilbert fastest around the circuit at the moment on a 1:02.603. Make that Cian Shields, who's now got a 1:02.5. Zach Ripley now the new fastest lap on a 1:02.4. But crucially, Cian Shields is now eating away at the gap to Lewis Gilbert. The gap coming down to 0.8 of a second. Another second back to Luke Preston. 4th position, there's a good battle between Josh Rowledge and Zach Ripley. It's British, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5, with William Nicolou and Suleiman Zanfari having also got past Victor Pardo on that lap. So not the greatest lap for the Spaniard, down to 8th place. What a battle this race is turning out to be. Gilbert, Shields, Preston, Rowledge and Ripley. And it's Rowledge and Ripley now having a good little tussle for 4th position as they come up through 9, up to 10, and then up towards third 11, the quick right flick. But a great battle for 4th and 5th place between these two. Rowledge and Ripley having a great tussle there for 4th and 5th position, but your leader is the Scotsman from Dolry. It is Lewis Gilbert out in front. 2nd place, his countryman, the other flying Scotsman, the original flying Scotsman, Cian Shields. So it looks like the future of Scottish motorsport is safe with these two, Lewis Gilbert and Cian Shields. Having a great run. Luke Preston, Josh Rowledge and Zach Ripley giving chase. Then William Nicolou, Suleiman Zanfari, Victor Pardo, Marta Belts and Jason Young from Vyacheslav Volosyankin and Lois Delbar. Lois Delbar's coming through the field quite well, up to 12th place now, the Belgian. 13th place, that looks like Liam McNeely in front of Kike Alanis Bosch. Then we have Alessandro Tudiska, the Belgian's coming up well. He's up 6 places, but Kike Alanis has definitely come up a long way. 14th place now for him. Ronan Patrick Hackler, Robin Norman. The Swede is in there up to 16th place now. He and Ronan Hackler have both gone past Alessandro Tudiska. Heronen Nerodini's come up from the back of the grid to 18th. Good work from him. And then we have 19th position in the mix. That looks to me like it could be Oliver Goethe. Yes, it is Oliver Goethe. And then we have Cesar Gazzo down in 20th, as we mentioned. Alex Lloyd still struggling in 22nd at the moment. A real shame for those two. Gazzo and Lloyd definitely had a chance to go for victory in this one, and unfortunately they just came together. So, with 3 laps to go, Cian Shields is still trying to eat away at the gap that Lewis Gilbert has over the rest of the field, but I think it's going to stay pretty much as it is. There's a bit of a battle going on further back. 3rd position is going to be up for grabs as Rowledge and Ripley are working together to close up on Luke Preston in 3rd place. So it's British 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, but 3, 4 and 5 are getting very close to each other now as Preston, Rowledge and Ripley are very close up with each other. The fastest of the 3 of them, Zach Ripley. No surprise because he's got slipstream on the 3 guys in front. And again, Ripley the fastest of the 3 through the 2nd sector as well. In fact, Ripley is currently on his best lap of the race. Green in the 2nd sector means a personal best. Lewis Gilbert setting a personal best in the 1st and 2nd sector. So the battle continues on as they move their way around the circuit. Some great battles all around. But Cian Shields still trying to challenge our race leader Lewis Gilbert and get the gap down. 3rd position, a good battle as Rowledge and Ripley both get past Luke Preston. So Rowledge is through, Ripley is through, Preston is down to 5th with 2 laps to go. So this is a great battle that just keeps getting better. And these 3 are not done. They all want to be in that 3rd position spot. Now we've got a retirement. I'm not quite sure who it is that's pulled off the circuit. I think that might be Oliver Goethe who has pulled off the track actually. So it looks as though his race has ended. Well, that's a real shame because we've lost Oliver Goethe. And I think we've lost another one as well. I think we seem to have lost Zach Meakin from the running as well. So it looks like both Meakin and Oliver Goethe are now out of the race, which is a real shame. But we're about to go into the final lap. And it's Lewis Gilbert, purple in the second sector, trying to get away from the field once more and just hang on to this lead and consolidate his position. But it's looking pretty dominant for Lewis Gilbert from Key and Shields. The Scotsmen are completely cleaning up here in France. A new fastest lap for Lewis Gilbert, 62.225. And third place is still not done. Rowledge, Ripley and Preston having a great tussle and a great battle. Rowledge defending from Ripley, but Preston looks like he could be the man on the move. Then it's Nicolò Zanfari and Victor Pardo. Zanfari looks like he's going on a good run for Nicolò. He's going to dive down the inside. Suleiman Zanfari is having to back down off the challenge. So there's a three-way tussle for third and a three-way tussle for sixth as well. Zanfari trying desperately to get past Nicolò on the far side of the circuit. And they're side by side. Zanfari's through. Suleiman Zanfari has got through. Behind this battle for third place, there is Suleiman Zanfari, now at the front of the queue in sixth position in front of William Nicolò and Victor Pardo. Victor Pardo's got through past Nicolò as well. Oh, and the three cards battling for third place, tussling on the last couple of laps. So this is going to be very tight for the 35 Rowledge to hang on in front of Ripley. But at the front, it's Lewis Gilbert who takes the flag. Gilbert wins it. Key and Shields is second. Who's going to be third? Across the line, it is just Rowledge from Ripley and Preston. Oh, magnificent. And Suleiman Zanfari gets the sixth position at the end of his first race of the weekend. Victor Pardo in seventh from William Nicolò. Jason Leung in ninth place. And Moira Belts in 10th from Vyacheslav Volosyankin and Ronan Patrick Hakala. Well, fighting forward, Cesar Gazzo eventually finishes up in 16th place. Alex Lloyd recovers to 20th, but both men are going to be happy to the tune of negative. So both of those men are going to be absolutely devastated with the way their races have gone. Lois Del Bar has had an off in the final lap as well. So I think his race has gone for a Burton too. He comes through now, but it's Gilbert, Shields, Rowledge, Ripley and Preston. A complete sweeping of the board for the Brits. Suleiman Zanfari, the Moroccan, comes through in sixth place from Victor Pardo, William Nicolò, the Canadian Jason Leung, then Moira Belts, Vyacheslav Volosyankin and Ronan Patrick Hakala, 13th for Robin Norman, and then Kike Alanis Bosch, Liam McNeely, Cesar Gazzo recovers to 16th from Nedodini to Diska, Vilkin, Alex Lloyd recovers to 20th, Zach Meekin is actually there in 21st from Eran Reshepi, Lois Del Bar, and then we have the retirements. Oliver Goethe in 24th position, and then we lost a couple of others as well. But what a sensational race and a great performance from Lewis Gilbert, the young man from Dalry in Scotland. Delighted with that, and Kean Shields has every reason to be happy as well. The 38 kart, the privateer, has done an absolutely sensational job up against the works drivers. And if you can do that in a field as competitive as this, you definitely have got something special.